I've not had the misfortune of being in a situation when I have tried to call 10111 recently. Maybe you have, and I want to know, did you get help? Did someone answer the phone? Because according to Action Society SA, police in the Western Cape are sitting with a communication system breakdown. Since last week, Ian Cameron of Action Society SA recently posting online saying that SAPS in the Western Cape has had no radio communication since last Thursday. The system is off, and so is the communication with the 10111 control room. Cops in the Cape Flats try to call for backup when shots are fired, but they have to call via WhatsApp. That's if they have signal or have data. SAPS management sending good cops to their graves. Ian Cameron, Action Society's Director of Community Safety. We've approached the South African Police Service to comment. We've had no word from them, so I'm going to leave it up to you to explain what is the situation currently with police and communication systems, whether you're a member of the public or whether you are one police officer trying to communicate with another via radio. What currently is the situation, Ian?
Good morning, Lester. Thank you very much. Yeah, so first of all, it's important. The context is that the radios that the South African Police Service are issued with in the Western Cape were issued in the 1980s and they were never replaced. So many of them have been repaired and fixed over the years, but you can imagine the wear and tear on a radio that was issued in the 1980s. Okay, so most of the rest of the country have received other radios. So, for example, Gauteng or the Eastern Cape, etc., have a different system that functions quite well and that doesn't face the same problem. Now, the issue here is that it's on and off constantly, but even when it's on, it's very spotty. And the challenge that we face with a lot of the cops, especially specialized units, and this is where something like 10111 comes in. When you call 10111, someone answers. I actually tested it again yesterday. It worked perfectly. So you call, someone answers, no problem. It worked perfectly for me. I know sometimes it doesn't. But what happened after that, though, is that what's meant to happen is that they would, if it's a high risk or a serious threat type of crime, they would contact Flying Squad and Flying Squad would respond. But now there's no comms between the control room and Flying Squad unless they also use WhatsApp. So if they don't know the person in that control room and they are in direct comms through something like WhatsApp, then there's no way of communicating. And I think it was on Saturday, there was a shooting incident in Hanover Park where cops were being shot at and they couldn't call for backup. They had to try and use WhatsApp, but you can imagine trying to type or sending a voice note while you're being shot at. It's a little bit challenging.
It's not something that is all too new. I remember it was in the last quarter of, I think, last year when you raised similar concerns about SAPS communication.
Yeah. So I think to me, look, we wrote to them first. I didn't want to, because something like this, obviously it pokes massive holes in any kind of policing strategy. So we wrote to them first before we said anything publicly, but didn't receive a response. Then I thought, well, this isn't right. There are too many cops coming to us with a problem, and should they speak to their commanders, then they get intimidated, which also is obviously wrong in its own. But anyway, so we did write to them. I know that the police minister's spokesperson at some stage did say something along the lines that it's not a public matter. They are aware of the issue and they are giving it the attention that it deserves. But in my opinion, it is a public matter because it means that the public can't be served properly. And on top of that, you've got good people really putting their lives on the line already with limited resources. And now we're putting them at even more risk. And so, we haven't seen any real resolve with this.
Do we separate these operation issues? There's the operational issues. There's the operational issue of SAPS members communicating with each other via the radios. And then to the other issue, South Africans in an emergency, wanting a response, having issues with a centralized call number like 10111.
Spot on. Remember, I think it was last year we had that report. I don't have the numbers in front of me now, but it had a huge amount of calls that were dropped by 10111. And I mean, we're seeing an increase in private dispatching services of general emergency services popping up all over South Africa. I guess it's a good thing that people are filling the gap, but I mean, we must ask why are we paying tax for then? When these basic, I guess it's like with all the other things that aren't functioning as well as they should. The point is just that in a space like, for example, let's use Hanover Park or Khayelitsha. Khayelitsha is a better example. You know, when it's load shedding, there's zero signal there in any case. So now you don't have a radio. You get sent in there with a high-speed vehicle, a vehicle that is meant to be used in areas that you can drive faster. Say, for example, to react to a bank robbery, something like that, cash in transit heist, etc. Now you're placed there. You don't have direct communication with the station locally. The radios don't work, and you don't have signal in load shedding. So you're a sitting duck. So that's the police challenge. And then, as you said correctly, I mean, in terms of the public, unfortunately, the expectation is already very low. But in terms of the public, the service is just not able to be given.
Ian Cameron, Action Society SA's Director of Community Safety. Errol says in the Western Cape, 021 480 is the emergency number. 24/7 365. Best ever response. I test it at least 3 times a year, says Errol.